Rebellion. Here are some synonyms: uprising, revolt, mutiny, insurrection, revolution, insurgency, civil disobedience. Also can mean defiance, disobedience, insubordination, dissent, resistance, dissent, subversion. So that makes me ask and wonder, have you ever been rebellious? Don't look at your shoes. I know, I think back to the teen years. We think about our teenage years often when we talk about rebellion. We're expected to rebel a little bit. Rebel against our parents, against authority figures. Everyone except our friends. We don't rebel against them. And it's supposed to be normal. It's a course of life. It's like the status quo. To be rebellious. A normal phase of life. Thinking about even Prince Harry had his rebellious streak, if you follow the royal family at all. Our own nation was formed as an act of rebellion against the British crown. In our text of today, we read of another time and culture, but an internal rebellion was going on. Both internal to the nation of Israel and also in the family of King David. Recall how after his adultery with Bathsheba, God said prophetically that the sword would not leave David's household. David had Uriah killed violently in battle. Uriah was Bathsheba's husband. And so now comes that prophecy fulfilled. David's daughter Tamar was raped by Amnon, her half-brother, which is just wrong on so many levels. But then it was Absalom, David's other son, who killed Amnon. He lured him to a celebration, to a dinner, and made him drunk, and said to his servants, "When I give you the sign, kill him." You can read it later on your own, chapter 13 in 2 Samuel. And now this same son, Absalom, had plotted and schemed against his own father, King David, to stage a coup d'etat. He catches any person with a complaint and listens to them and gives them some satisfaction, and he says, "There's nobody in the court to listen to you." He catches them before they can speak to the king. David doesn't even know his people are upset. So we see Absalom is cunning. He's ambitious. His name actually means father of peace, yet he incites rebellion and civil war in the kingdom. He's young, he's brash, he's got confidence, and he listens to counsel that tells him to go to war with David and to attack and kill only David if that's possible to do it. The advisor tells him, "Hey, listen, Absalom, everyone in Israel is going to follow you once David is out of the picture. Once the king is gone, we're going to anoint you king. You're going to be the one we follow." He's already won over many people. He's amassed a large fighting force, over 20,000 we know, compared to David, who had mustered up 4,000 loyal people. 4,000 versus over 20,000. It sounds mismatched. And part of the great tragedy of this story is the idea of civil war. Relatives and neighbors fighting against each other. People who should be unified are split into factions. How often does that happen to us? Well, take a look around, people. The modern church is being picked apart internally through disputes. It's not good. Why can't we all get along? Why can't we be unified around Christ. He's the head of the church. And sometimes we let something like the color of the carpeting get in the way. The color we want to paint the walls, the way we want to redo the roof, anything like that. It splits us apart. We shouldn't let it. We should not let it. Internal conflict is not good except for Satan. Satan loves it. Anytime we're fighting at each other, we're not doing the mission, we're not keeping the vision forward to keep people coming to Christ. Well, the other great tragedy of this story is father fighting against his son. Son fighting against father. An eternal family conflict becomes a world stage because of their royal lineage, their pedigree. It's painful. Anytime there's a family struggle, a family conflict. Have you experienced such a family rebellion in your own family? Maybe you were a rebellious child. I know that's unlikely. You people are all so nice. You're smiling. Some of you are elbowing your mate. I know about you. Maybe you were that rebellious child, the one that made your parents' hair go gray prematurely. You're going against your parents sometimes just out of your own stubbornness. I have to admit, I've done that before. You go against what they want or what they say just because. You know, I'm the kid, I'm supposed to be stubborn, I'm supposed to be rebellious. Don't you know that, Mom? Give them grief. I remember one time, and I was a teenager, I was probably 16 or maybe 17 years old, and there was some kind of natural disaster. There was a fire, I think, and my mom was taking my two younger siblings to go see it. And I was sitting in the living room on the couch. I don't know what I was doing, nothing important, and she invited me to go along to see it. And, you know, I had my best teenage voice, and I said, I think that is so morbid. And I know that her gesture, reaching out to me to invite me, that took some effort on her part. And I was slamming that door of invitation. I was shutting her out. And I was intentionally doing it. I might have been intrigued to go see it, but I was doing my best teenage attitude, and I was saying, I don't want any part of this. And I know it hurt my mom. It hurt her to have me respond like that, because she was kind of opening a door of invitation, and I was closing it hard. Notice in our text today how David refused to go against Absalom. He tells his warriors right at the beginning, Joab and Abishai and Ittai, those would be like his generals, and he says, deal gently for my sake with the young man Absalom. And everybody heard it. Everybody heard that order to his generals. Deal gently with my son. Here he is. Absalom is a rebel. He's inciting a riot against the king. He is trying to usurp the throne. And yet David loves him. Despite the rebellious nature of his son, we can see here a glimpse into David's heart and how it really mirrors God's heart for each one of us. For every person, God loves you. Even in your rebellion, He loves you. That's why John 3:16 and 17 have such power for us. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. He sent him not to condemn the world, but to save the world from sin, power, love for us. David had a clue how much his troops hated Absalom. Here's this upstart kid trying to overthrow the anointed one of God. David gives careful directions, spare my son's life. And David loves him even though Absalom wishes David dead. Yet then, when they finally catch him, his mighty fighting men, they rout the larger undisciplined forces, they kill Absalom. Not the one who first finds him. The one who first finds him hanging from that mighty oak tree, he sees him and he heard what David said. He knew, I don't dare touch this boy. I don't want to be the one that puts a spear into him. But he reported back to the general, I found him. And the general says, why didn't you kill him? Oh no. General says, I would have given you X, Y, and Z. I would have made you a wealthy man. I would have made you one of us, a general. Oh no, I'm not going to touch that one. So then, what does he do? The general finds him 3 daggers to the heart. 3 daggers. And then some of his hand-picked troops, 10 of them, kill the boy. They end the rebellion, and they break David's heart. Even to save the kingdom, David would not have killed him. David grieves the death of his son. Is there any grief like that? Is there any grief like losing your child? To lose your child at any age is difficult. Remember when my father-in-law died, he was 59. He wasn't a young man. His mom was still alive, and she was really cut hard by that. She was just broken, losing her son. Anytime we lose a child, it's hard. Yet, God knows this pain. As he watched his only son go to the cross, God experienced rebellion through Adam, through the sin that affected all of us. And then when Jesus took on that separation from God, it was painful. He took on our sin upon himself, sin of the whole world. What is there, 7 billion people in the world now? And Jesus took it all. Just like that. Took it all. And creation cries and groans at this, the pain of a broken world, because it is painful. It is hurtful. And yet, there is grace and forgiveness because of it. Grace and forgiveness for us. Would you pray with me? Lord, how we need your grace, your forgiveness, because we are a rebellious lot. Deal gently with us. Continue to love us. Continue to pour your mercy upon us. And help us to seek that second chance.